Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chile Simracing Round 1 in Indian Grand Prix. We're live at Boot Circuit International Flat6 Asia Cup race number 1. In a few moments we will be live from qualification, which have already started. 10-minute session is in front of us, 2 minutes already done, so only a few attempts for each driver. 10-minute short qualification session followed by two 20 minutes races later on. Qualifications will decide positions for race number 1. Race number 2 will be started in order in which drivers will finish race number 1. So as said before, only a short 10-minute qualification session, which means only a limited time to make for each driver to make their best attempt. We saw already the free practice a few minutes ago. Free practice has ended. One driver set a really outstanding time of 1 minute 56 seconds and 9/10. So approximately for pole position in around minute and 56, 9 point, maybe 0.8. We expect the times to be enough for pole position today, but qualifications are unpredictable. Some traffic, maybe a small driver error on one of the hot laps can ruin your qualification session. Boot International Circuit in India, as said before, round number 1 of Flat6 Asia Cup will be the first round. Then in 14 days time we will move to China, then we move to Malaysia, Japan also. We will be in Bahrain, so we have an Asian set of races. Boot International Circuit, the raceway built purposely for Formula 1 racing, opened in 2011, also hosted 3 rounds of Grand Prix racing in history in 2011, 2012 and 2013, so only three years in a row was the race of Formula 1 was held here. Since then the raceway hosted a few local, let's say that local series, but no major international competitions. So but otherwise the layout of a circuit very interesting to say at least, marked by 2 very long straights and a few very long corners, some chicanes and also some overtaking opportunities. But we are here with number 33. Paul August Lené is the driver who set his fastest time in free practice. Today on qualification session, the previous lap was set at time 1 minute 57 seconds and 2/10 of a second. And a massive oversteer in the turn number 3. He ran wide in the gravel trap, so his second hot lap attempt is ruined. We are number 23, Klemenjenko, Slovenian driver, his personal best in qualification session at 1 minute 59.2 of a second. That put him in 5th position at the moment, but 5 minutes and 15 seconds. In this qualification session, we see his Porsche GT3 approaching turn number 4. The relatively tight right-hander, which is preceded by a very long straight, the longest on the circuit. And after the turn 4 is another long straight that leads us to the trickiest combination of the circuit of turn 5, 6 and 7. Relative, let's say, chicane-like combination of the corners, preceded by a long straight, then another chicane, turn 8 and turn 9, and then we will move to one of the trickiest corners, in which Klemenjenko is now, turn 10 and turn 11. Practically there are named 2 corners, but in reality is one very super long corner with the really late apex in turn 11, preceded by a super fast turn 12. Turn 13 and 15 are chicane-like corners. Then is one of the short straights and another overtaking opportunity in turn 15. Then we go down the straight towards the tight left-hander named turn 16, one of the best overtaking opportunities in this circuit, which leads us to on the start-finish line. second longest straight on the raceway, a bit deep down the hill towards turn 1, turn 2, and then we go up the hill towards turn 3, which is a relatively tight corner and one of the best overtaking opportunities, and also one of the most important corners. Luka currently in pole position. His time was 1 minute 57 seconds point 2, so a good time, which puts him in the pole position. He's approaching turn 3, very tricky corner on the circuit as it goes slightly up the hill. You have to really nail the braking point, hit the apex on the exact moment. The most important corner because it's followed by the longest straight on the circuit. So if you make a mistake entering or exiting this corner, you lose a lot of speed and you lose also a lot of time down the straight. Approaching turn 4, still on board with Luka entering that tight right-hander of turn 4. Another relatively long straight, which will lead us to the combination of turn 5, 6 and 7. Not really the best overtaking opportunity, but a very important part of the circuit, especially here in qualifications. Important to carry good speed through these sections, quite a lot of curbs, so it allows you to use all the curbs and also some astroturf on the ending of each corner, which can be slippery in rain, but very useful in dry conditions. Now we saw Luka going through corners 10 and 11, which are, as said before, named 2 turns, but in reality is one really long turn. It's not cut in half by some straight, so it's like all the drivers take it as 1 turn. On the turn 11, it's a really late apex, so you have to really be patient on that long corner. Paul August Lené, second overall, currently in qualification sessions, but as we see in split times in your right hand corner in the lower part, he in the second sector is 0.4 of a seconds faster, so challenging for a pole position. We will see if it's enough down the straight finish line. Not enough. Luka Oslakovic still leading the qualification sessions by one of the narrowest margins in racing, so we have quite a tight fight for a pole position on this qualification session. Gaspar Bennett is with us, 4th in current standing, number 3 on his chrome and green liveried Porsche. All the racing cars in today's race, overall in whole of the series, will be Porsche GT3, so only this car is used by all of the drivers. Gaspar a little bit late on the apex of turn 3. You can come relatively close. I mean, you can come actually on the curb on the inside, so he lost a little bit of time and a little bit of speed down that straight. He's still in his hot lap, or his best time is 1 minute 58.0 seconds. That puts him in 4th position, so 3 drivers in front of him. He's losing 0.8 seconds approximately towards the compared to the fastest driver of this qualification session, who makes a mistake on the entry out to the corner 5. Now we are again with Paul August Lené. He's setting a really hot lap. In first sector he was 0.4, also 0.4 of a second faster in second sector, so now he's approaching the turn 15 and turn 16. Soon he will be in position to enter the final straight, and we'll see if his time will be enough for pole position. The qualification session in this moment has already ended, but all the drivers in hot lap have the right to finish their quali lap and set their fastest time. This should be good. He carried good speed, 1 minute 56.3 seconds as predicted. Even better times than we saw in free practice earlier on, so 1:56.3 is the lap time for pole position on the race number 1, which will be on our schedule in 15 minutes past 9 o'clock. Now the quali session has ended, and we have our starting grid decided for the first race. As said before, race number 2, which will be proceeded immediately after race 1, will be started in the order in which drivers will finish race number 1. A few minutes of break, so all the drivers come to their pit lane, and we have our starting grid. Paul August Lene in number 33 in pole position, followed by Luka Oslakovic, number 93, 0.8 seconds behind the fastest driver. Eduard Batala in 3rd position, Gaspar Grebenec in 4th position, Arkadiusz Otreba finishing our top 10s. As we see, quite a packed midfield from 5th to 9th position. Drivers are very close in their times, so we have our pole sitter quite a bit faster on his hot lap than the rest of the field. And we have a really tight fight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th position, and down the midfield from 5th to 9th position. Very tight and packed midfield, so we expect quite a tight racing in a few minutes time. Few minutes left towards the start of the first race. All the drivers have their warm up lap, and then they start from the standing position. So the drivers have 1 lap to warm the tires and to warm their brakes, then set on their pre-decided slot on the starting grid, and they start from the standing starts. 4 minutes left for the drivers to line up. And again, we see round number 1, Bud International Circuit in India, 5.1 kilometers of racing track. Air temperature 23 degrees, also the 23 is track temperature. Weather predicted to stay stable for the first race, so relatively warm track, so it should be ideal conditions for racing. Not too hot, not too cold, so the tires should be at their proper working temperature. Now we will go to our commercial session and promo video, and we'll be back in about 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our first round of Flat6 Asia Cup. You saw the entire planned calendar of races. We are on round number 1 in India, then we move to China, then to South Korea, to Malaysia, Japan, and we finish our season in Bahrain. So quite a diverse let's say selection of the circuits. Only Asian tracks on the calendar this time around. The drivers now have their warm up laps, 1 minute and a few seconds left of warm up session. All the drivers can warm their tires, test their final check of the setup, warm their brakes, and prepare themselves for the start from the standing position. So interesting starting procedure here, especially here in India. First combination of the corners very tricky until the 3rd corner. Then after the 3rd corner, the drivers will, let's say, the situation will calm down a little bit, but the first 3 corners the action should be really packed, and quite a lot of attention will be required for all the drivers to avoid any collisions or mistakes in their first few corners. Starting procedure always one of the most nervous parts of the race for every driver. Okay, if you are on pole position, if you have a good start, it's a bit easier, but then if you are slightly back in the midfield, things can quite easily and quite fast become out of your control. You can easily knock someone out, or you can get knocked out. So first few corners before the situations calm down a little bit, it's always very tricky, especially here where all the cars are of the same specification. Porsche GT3 for all our competitors. Warm-up lap session in this moment is now complete, so we will prepare, and all our drivers will prepare for their starting procedure and for the start of the race number 1, which will be started in a few moments. And after the now we have a 3 minute of break, so all the drivers can prepare themselves for starting procedure. We already saw our starting grid in the moment. Cars in the pit lane will be soon formatted to the starting grid as in the usual starting procedure as known from the Grand Prix racing. Standing starts, each driver in his individual pre-designated slot from the qualification session, and standing start usually in GT racing, in also sim racing, and in real life racing. For those of you who follow let's say both of them, GT racing is usually started from the rolling start, the, let's say, American way of racing. In Europe it's more common to start from the standing start, as we know from the Formula 1 and let's say Moto GP and some other, let's say WTCC, or in this later years known as World Touring Car Championship. They all have standing start, but GT racing have rolling start, as also all the races in NASCAR and IndyCar, and also in endurance racing, for example 24 hours of Le Mans and all the other races are conducted from the rolling start, which is harder. It's relatively, it's debatable. Everyone has their own up better and worse sides. Both of them are interesting. Here the organizers chose to go from the standing start, so if you make a mistake on the start you can lose quite a lot of time. If you have too much wheel spin, for example, on the starting line, you can easily get overtaken and lose quite some positions already from the start. This will be also the same procedure in the race number 2, which will be started from the positions which drivers will finish race number 1. No reverse grid in this Asia Flat6 Cup, so if you have a good race number 1, you get yourself also better starting position for the next race. As said before, we are here in India, then we move to China in 14 days to Guangdong International Circuit, the raceway which is completely different to this one in India, relatively short circuit, which held World Touring Car Championship in the past and some Asia GT series, but not really any major international series. So we are prepared for our standing start and drivers are away. Now they have the Okay, we have our starting grid. We are in the warm-up lap. Paul August Lene from pole position. Number 2 is Luka Oslakovic from the first grid. Second grid is Eduard Batalla, followed by Gaspar Grebinc, number 03 in his Porsche. Third grid is shown in a few moments. drivers have now their warm-up lap, their chance to warm the tires and warm the brakes, especially on racing cars. For those who follow a racing series, you know it's very important to warm the tires as close as possible to their working temperature, and also very important to warm the brakes on these high-tech ceramic brakes in the racing cars. They require a relatively high working temperature, so you have a chance in these 5 kilometers to warm as much as possible those brakes, so you have an optimal stopping force of brakes towards the first corner. Also very important to warm the tires, so you have as much as possible grip on stopping towards the first corner. Try to hit the braking point as late as possible, as close to the optimum as possible, as you are used from free practice and qualification session. So very important warm-up lap in every racing series. These sim racing games like Rfactor 2, as we are having today, are very close to reality in these tire modules and brake modules, so you really are, these simulations are as close as you can get to the real life racing as you can, so it is really almost like a real life simulations. A few more corners of warm-up lap, then drivers will line up in their slots. Last few corners to get the temperature in the tires, temperature in the brakes, and also cool down your head and get prepared for starting procedure. As we see, the first cars already approaching their starting positions. All the cars must line up in their spot. Then we'll have our red lights on, and when the red lights will be off, the drivers will go down towards the first corner. All the cars are lining up, the last few cars to go down in their slots, and starting procedure will start soon. A few drivers really tight in their box, some of them left a little bit of space, as we see on our left of the screen. Okay, cars are in this moment prepared for the starting procedure. A nervous few seconds. 8 seconds left, so we see the red lights turning on. Fourth, fifth red lights. Fifth red light is on, and the lights are off, and away we go. Loslakovic made an impressive start from the second position. He has the inside line towards the first corner, and straight away he goes for the overtake. Now he was a little bit wide on the outside of the turn 2, but will he be able to hold the inside? Oh no, he made an error on the entering of the third corner, but also Lane was a little bit oversteered, and another driver, the car number 3, already approaching down the straight. They all go down this long straight towards turn 4. The car behind has a really good slipstream. Oslakovic defending aggressively. It was really aggressive maneuver on his opponent. He ran him wide, but it was before the braking zone. We have 3 cars down the third straight towards turn 4, towards turn 5, 6 and 7. Really tricky combinations to go 3 wide. Oslakovic still holding his own. August Lane in second position, Batala in third position, Otreba in fourth position, and Grebinc in fifth position, all in their fight for the first place in this opening lap of the race number 1. Down towards turn 10 and towards turn 11 they go, all clean through this first lap. The drivers will be approaching final sector, but we are in the battle for 5th position. Melistas is fighting. 4 cars actually here are fighting for 6th position. We are with Mateusz Banowski, 6th position, number 29, yellow and black colored Porsche, under pressure from number 12 down towards the turn 16, and on the final straight, and side by side they go down the starting finish straight towards turn 1, and we are in the fight for the lead again. Oslakovic and Lene fighting it out for the leading position down the corner 1 and 2, and here they come into the 3rd corner. Who will hold the inside line? August Lane keeping it very tight on the inside, nailing the apex just right, carrying as much speed as possible down the straight towards the turn 4. Oslakovic of course will try to use the slipstream in an attempt to overtake him back in turn number 4, but we are again with for the fight for 6th position. Kostas Melistas fighting it out with yellow and black colored Porsche, but he's a little bit too off for the attack. No, not enough. But the car in front of him makes a slight error on the braking. He was also very late on the braking. Slight tumble towards the over the curb, lost a little bit of space, and we are with Arkadiusz Otreba, Polish driver, fighting it out for a 4th position with Gaspar Grebens. They are fighting it out for 4th and 5th position towards that tricky combination of 5th, 6th and 7th corner, and in this moment Arkadiusz gained slight advantage towards the corner 10, over the corner 10 and 11. We are in the back of the grid with our field in the battle for 10th position. Shirok, Adamczyk and Wojtoza fighting it out very close to each other. Adamczyk tried to make an attempt. No, it was a bit too far from the back, but carrying good speed towards the corner, and we are back in our leading 2. August Lane still leading and gaining some advantage in front of Luka Oslakovic, number 93 Porsche. He gained some half of a second or nearly a second of an advantage. He has a clean air in front of him, so in this moment the situation calmed down a little bit. And Grebens makes a mistake, outbrakes himself in the corner number 1, goes far too wide down towards the sand trap. He loses a lot of time and also a lot of positions. He's currently in 9th position, also oversteers through the corner number 3, who again makes a mistake, and he will be overtook by 1, 2, maybe even 3 cars down that longest straight. We have a battle for 9th position. Shirok, Grebens, Adamczyk and Wojtoza fighting it out down towards the turn number 4. Nice overtaking opportunity. We will see how this battle will develop. The black Porsche on the inside of Adamczyk, closing the line on Shirok, not allowing him through. Grebens still in 3rd position, not overall but 3rd position in this battle. We have scrap of cars in the midfield in the fight for 7th position. This combination on circuit very tricky to overtake. Of course it's possible, every corner it's possible to overtake, but in some corners it's really tricky. And we have our leaderboard. August Lane leading nearly 2 seconds in front of Oslakovic, Batala in 3rd position, Otreba in 4th, and Bankowski in 5th position, nearly 10 seconds behind our leader. We are here with Klemenenko, number 23, in 7th position at the moment, not close enough for any serious overtaking attempt, but we are in the back for 10th and 11th position. Gaspar Grebens, who made an error earlier on in corner number 1, defending very hard. We will see if he can defend his 10th position down the first corner, where he overbraked himself a few laps earlier. This time manages to go on the brakes early enough to stop the car, go through the corner nicely and defend his position in front of Stanislav Wojtoza, who is making an attempt but was not close enough. Grebens covered the inside line, nailed the apex over the curb, carried enough speed down the straight, enough to defend his position, but Stanislav Feitosa isn't giving up just yet. He's using the slipstream of the car in front of him. Grebinc covers the inside line, so Feitosa finds himself on the outside line, a bit difficult to overtake, but he goes light on the brake, squeezes himself through in front to 10th position, but runs wide off the curb on the AstroTurf, loses the grip on the car, has to go wide, and eventually losing his 10th position, he's back to 11th again. We are with Sander Paulu in 6th position, going down towards through the turn 10 and 11, not close enough to make an attempt for 5th position. We are here for 5th, Bankowski leading in front of Palu and Yinko in 7th position. We'll see this, we will follow this battle closely. If one of the cars makes a mistake, the other is very close for an overtaking opportunity. Approaching the last turn of the circuit are Kostas Melistas and Piotr Adamczyk fighting it out for 8th position. Adamczyk close on the tail of Melistas, blue and white color Porsche down the start-finish straight. In my opinion, at the moment not close enough for us for serious overtaking attempt. Also Melistas covers the inside line nicely towards through the turn 1, down turn 2, of course, flat out left-hander, and late braking towards turn number 3. In this turn very tricky because you have a slight uphill on the braking, very blind corner, the tightest corner of the entire circuit, first gear in these cars, and also blind corner. You have to really be precise on a braking point to hit the apex as clean as possible. And now Piotr Adamczyk has to defend from Gaspar Grebinc for 9th position. Grebinc making good progress after his mistake earlier on, which cost him a lot of time going wide through the corner on the exit of the corner 4, going wide on the AstroTurf, losing the grip and some time compared to rivals in front of him. Adamczyk now again trying to attack Melistas in front of him, and also trying to defend himself from Grebinc, so double work for the black, green and yellow Porsche driver. Adamczyk, very hard work, having to attack and also at the same time having to defend the car behind you, so we have a really nice battle here going on. 3 cars, also the 4th car is approaching this battle for 8th position. Melistas in 8th, Adamczyk in 9th, Grebinc in 10th, and Feitosa in 11th position. The car in front, so Melistas is holding all the drivers back, makes a slight mistake on the exit of the corner, loses the rear a little bit, and Adamczyk, of course, making the best out of it. Also Grebinc going on the inside, Grebinc staying in the back, Adamczyk and Melistas fighting it out down the start, finishing straight towards the corner 1. A really nice overtaking opportunity, slow first corner, and 4 cars going side by side down the first corner. Melistas going on the inside, covering Adamczyk. Grebinc and Feitosa, of course, will try to make the best out of their fight. And Melistas going on the inside, Grebinc in the middle. Very close. They all managed to squeeze somehow through, and Grebinc is the one who makes the most out of it, gaining 2 positions, moves himself in the 8th position. Adamczyk is at the moment 9th, Melistas 10th, and Feitosa in 11th, keeping Melistas under pressure down the longest straight of the race towards turn 4, keeping the inside line, late on the braking, and squeezes himself through to 10th position. But Melistas isn't giving up just yet. He was a bit wider on the braking, so he keeps nice slipstream down towards corner 5, 6 and 7. Adamczyk still fighting for 8th position, having to defend in front of Grebins in 9th position, who is clearly the fastest of all of these drivers that we are seeing in this fight, but one is being the faster driver, something else is overtaking. Even if you are a bit slower, you can still keep an advantage if you are really good in, let's say, defending your on-track position. And back towards the front of the race, where Auguste Lane is leading the race nice and calm. 5.8 seconds is his advantage in front of Slakovic in 2nd position, Utreba in 3rd, 12 seconds behind, and another 5 seconds is the 4th position driver. So we have quite a big gaps in the front of the race at the moment. Here we have really interesting, let's say, point scoring system. The winner gets 15 points, and then each driver towards 15th place gets each driver 1 point less. So quite a packed scoring system. If you have one bad race, you can really put yourself out of contention. So this scoring system is made especially to encourage the drivers to fight for each position. We are seeing battle for 8, and Ugre beats light on the braking, hitting the back of Adamczyk and being overtaken by Faitosa, who made the best out of this situation. 2 of the drivers were fighting for position, and the 3rd one managed to come through, and now keeping Adamczyk under pressure, but also having to defend himself from Grebins. Of course, made a slight mistake in hitting Adamczyk's back, but not giving up on his position. Of course, at this stage of the race, we still have quite some time of racing in this race number 1, and we moved ourselves a little bit forward in the race where two drivers are fighting it out for 5th position. Close for 4th position. Mateusz Bankowski and Sander Paulu fighting it out for 4th. Paulu made an attempt, but Bankowski defended himself very nicely. Now down the start and finishing straight, using the slipstream. Car number 3 used the slipstream, but car number 29, Mateusz Bankowski, covered the inside line, not having any of Paulu's attempts. And again down the corner number 3, again covering the inside line. The driver behind him tried to cut him on the inside, but not enough space for this maneuver. Bankowski was precise on the braking, not allowing the driver behind him to attempt to cut him in on the inside line. And we are in the also fight for 6th position. Klemenenko trying to defend his position in front of Eduard Batala, who makes a light braking in the corner number 4, covers the inside line aggressively, but makes an overtaking attempt here. And here still in the fight for 8th position, 3 drivers fighting it out. So as said before, scoring system rewarding for the drivers who score higher positions. So every point is important, and Grebins makes another mistake, loses the rear of his car in corner number 5, so loses again some time on his opponents in front of him, allowing him to get away a little bit. But we must be honest, Gaspar Grebins is really fighting. He made quite a few mistakes in this race, but always clawed his way back and straight into the fight for higher positions. He's not giving up the proper spirit of racing driver he has. You don't give up, never ever in your race. Still 4 minutes of racing to go. We saw quite a lot of overtaking, and racing is always really unpredictable sport. Every driver in front can make a mistake and you can gain position, so you never ever give up. And in this moment, Piotr Adamczyk was overtook by Stanislav Vaitoza. We did not have seen this overtaking attempt, and again we have a three-way fight for 7th position. Stanislav Vaitoza, Piotr Adamczyk and Palu for 7th position. Also Grebinc is not just out of this yet. We go down the longest straight of the raceway towards the turn 4. Very important to keep yourself as close as possible to the car in front of you to allow yourself in his slipstream, so you can gain some speed and try to be late on the brakes, but Palu far enough to defend Vaitoza's attempt for 7th position. Adamczyk running a little bit wide over the curb on the exit of turn 4, allowing Grebinc again in the fight, and we go down the 5th, 6th and 7th corner. Not really the best overtaking opportunity in these corners, but Adamczyk makes a mistake running wide in the 7th corner through that curb. Down the corner number 8 and 9 towards 10 and 11. Here it's really difficult to overtake this super long corner with the very late apex. Now approaching turn 11. Very important to be patient on this super long corner, because you have to nail the apex just right to carry enough speed towards corner 13 and 14. Chicane impossible to overtake unless the driver in front of you makes a mistake. Now we come towards turn 15 and then 16, which are both corners made for overtaking. Grebinc aggressively over the curb. He will try to attempt the overtake on the outside line, but not enough. Adamczyk makes a good attempt, brakes very late, keeps himself in front, but allows Grebinc in his own slipstream down towards the turn 1. One of the best overtaking opportunities. Grebinc keeping the inside line, so he's in the better position than Piotr Adamczyk. Makes an overtaking attempt, going wide in corner 2. Nearly knocks both of the drivers out, but allowing Adamczyk on the inside. Grebinc again trying to cut him on the inside, and this time he succeeds. Adamczyk has been overtaken, pushed down to 10th position, but has the slipstream of Grebinc in 9th position down this long straight. One of the most important parts of the circuit to have a really good slipstream, and now Adamczyk puts himself in the inside line towards the turn 4. Really tight corner, brakes late, a little bit of smoke from the tire. Grebinc again tried to overcut him and makes an attempt, but they're going side by side down the turn number 5, 6 and 7. This tricky combination. Adamczyk in 10th position, Grebinc in 9th position, and Adamczyk makes a mistake in corner 5, running wide on the braking point, allowing Grebinc to run away a little bit. Now he has some free space in front of him, not trying to defend himself, so the chance to make some ground. And approaching the fight for 8th position, we are on board with 5th position, number 24, Edward Batala, fighting it out for 4th position with Mateusz Bankowski, number 29. Yellow and black colored Porsche. Down the 16th corner they go towards the last corner of the circuit, and then approaching start finishing straight. 1 second of race left, so the race is now over, so the drivers have to finish their last lap. The leader is in last lap at the moment. Luka Oslakovic in 2nd position, having to defend himself from Arkadiusz Otreba in 3rd position. One last lap for all the drivers. It's 20 minutes plus 1 lap, so 1 lap to go when the leader will finish the race. The race will be over, but of course the drivers who are in the lap still have the right to finish the lap and fight it out in their last attempt. Luka Oslakovic at the moment a little bit in front of driver in 3rd position, so nice advantage, but here the situation is a little bit different. Mateusz Bankowski going on the inside, Edward Batala on the outside. How will they negotiate this tight corner? Batala on the outside. They collided a little bit on the exit of the corner, but Mateusz Bankowski keeping himself in front. Batala in 5th position, now having to worry. Klemenienko is behind him in 6th position, so nice fight for 4th position. 3 cars and half a lap left towards the end of the race. A few overtaking attempts still possible, but very tricky situation in this moment, especially for Edward Batala. If he makes an overtake on Bankowski and makes a mistake, he will be overtaken by Klemenenko. So very tricky situation. In the meantime, we see Pavel August Lane crossing the finish line in first position, fastest in qualification session, also fastest in the race number 1, which will allow him to start from pole position. And we have a fight for 4th position. Bankowski, Batala and Tienko fighting it out. None of them is giving up just yet. Bankowski covering the inside line. Batala trying to undercut him on the inside, but Bankowski really precise on the braking and keeping his opponent behind. So Bankowski finishing in 4th position, Batala in 5th position, and Tienko in 6th position. Really nice fight in this closing stage. Palu in 7th, Faitosa finishing in 8th position, Grebens is 9th, and Adamczyk at the moment in 10th position. Adamczyk going in the pit lane, but still finishing in 10th position overall. Kostas Listas finishing at the moment is currently shown as 10th position because Adamczyk decided to go to the pit lane. Jure Širok finishing 12th position in number 81 Porsche. And also our home driver number 21 finishing 13th position, almost 1 lap behind the leaders. So Kovacic in 14th position, also finishing race number 1. So in this moment the race is now officially over. So this is the end of our race number 1. We have 3 minutes left. We will go to the commercial, 1 minute of commercial break, and in a few moments we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in Bud International Circuit. We just finished race number 1 of 2 this Thursday evening. Let's not say weekend. Usually races are on the weekends, but we are racing here on Thursday's evening. Round number 1 out of 6, as you can see, in Flat6 Asia Cup. Only Asian races on a schedule in this racing series. Bud in India, race number 1, former Grand Prix circuit in India. 3 races were held between 2011 and 2013. All of 3 were won by Sebastian Vettel in Red Bull Racing, so the only driver in history to win Indian Grand Prix. In 14 days time we are moving to China, to Guangdong International Circuit, a bit shorter circuit, so it should be a little bit more action-packed, perhaps a shorter circuit, not a Grand Prix circuit. Held a little bit of action in WTCC, World Touring Car Championship, in the past, but no major international racing events at that circuit. Then we go to Yeongam in South Korea, also former Grand Prix circuit, and then we go to Malaysia, to Sepang, one of the, let's say, most action-packed circuits in the world. No matter what racing happened in Sepang, the races were always unpredictable, action-packed, so one of the let's say, spectators' favorite circuit. Then we go to Suzuka, one of the technically most demanding tracks in the calendar, and we finish our season in Sakir in Bahrain. So almost all the races are former or current Grand Prix circuits except for the Chinese, which will be held in 14 days time. And we have a starting order for race number 2. Paul August Lane also again starting from pole position in front of Luka Oslakovic, who finished second position. Arkadiusz Otreba will be starting for the slot number 3. Mateusz Bankowski will go 4th, Batalia 5th, Klemen Ienko will go from 6th position. These starting positions are not in any correlation with qualifications. They are from the finishing position from race number 1. Sander Palou will go number 7. Number 8 will be Stanislav Faitoza. Klemen Grebins will go from 9th position. 10th will be Kostas Melistas, who lost quite a lot of ground in race number 1. Jure Širok will be going from 11th position. Piotr Adamczyk will be going from slot number 12, and number 13 will be Dejan Kovacic, because Ram Adietan, the Indian driver, is still in his garage. He's not opted for a warm-up lap. This is the warm-up procedure. Again, drivers put on the new set of tires for this race. Very important to get them to their working temperature. Also important to get the brakes on the working temperature, so you have as much as stopping power and grip on the tires down the first corner. We saw quite an action-packed first few corners and also first few laps in our previous race. Each racing weekend consists of 1 qualification session and 2 races. The format of the racing will remain the same throughout the season. 10-minute qualification session followed by 2 20-minute sprint races. In a world of racing, 20 minutes is considered a sprint race. Then from hour to 2 it's like medium distance racing, and all the longer formats are considered endurance racing. So we have a sprint format. Last few meters to warm the car. In the real life, in the sim racing, it's not that important, but in the real life racing it's also important to get clutch in the car down to the optimum temperature. So you have so the clutch, let's say, grams as optimum as possible. 5 seconds to go. 3, 4, 5 red lights are on. Lights are off, and away we go for the second time. Very good start from Bankowski. Precise on the starting, challenging for lead down the first corner. They're going 3 wide, and they collided also in the first corner. No victims, no one spins out. So relatively clean start, but a few contacts in the first corner, cleanly through the second, and down the third corner we will see the situation. Other things will develop. The pole holder lost his ground, and one of the drivers in the background spins out and loses the rear wing of his car, and which will probably cost him a pit stop position. Luka Oslakovic, in second position, again challenging for the lead. Bankowski trying to defend himself on the inside line. A little bit late on the braking, allowed Oslakovic to get behind him, and also Paul August Lane joins the fight. Grebins was pushed wide by Kovacic. They collided on the exit of the fourth corner, and we are live with our battle for lead. Bankowski currently holding his own in front. Oslakovic trying to overtake him and defend himself at the same time from August Lane, our pole position holder and winning driver. Oslakovic makes a mistake from 10th to 11th corner and spins out, loses his position, trying to get himself as quickly and safely as possible back on track, nearly causing another collision in the background as he did not have enough speed approaching the racing line and loses all sorts of positions, putting himself down at the back of the field. But he has 18 minutes left to make a charge through the field and gain as much positions as possible. As we said before, the scoring system in this championship rewarding for the drivers who fight as much as possible for positions. Every position means one additional point. Mateusz Bankowski is still in the lead, and we are with Piotr Adamczyk down in 6th position, trying to overtake Sander Palou for 6th position. Not enough. They nearly collided with Stanislav Faitoza, but both of the drivers getting unscathed through the corner number 3 down the straight, and we have a three-way fight for 5th position. Sander Palou trying to defend himself from Piotr Adamczyk and Stanislav Faitoza from the background. Really tricky situation. Sander Palou chooses the inside line. Adamczyk, of course, trying to go wide on him down the turn 4, and he makes a successful attempt to going wide through the curb and regaining position. Luka Slakovic now in his charge through the field, as we saw earlier on in 10th corner, approaching corner number 11. That super long corner where you have to be really patient. He was a little bit impatient at the moment, hit the throttle a bit too early and spun himself out. We are in this position where that mistake happened a lap ago. And Mateusz Bankowski made an impressive start from 3rd position straight into the lead. He went down through the corner number 3, but now has to defend himself from Paul August Lene in 2nd position, the winner of race number 1, who going wide over that curb and AstroTurf, allowing the driver behind him to approach him in nearly down his exhaust pipe. But Mateusz Bankowski defending himself successfully, losing a bit of ground towards corner number 16 down the finishing straight we go. Paul August Lane not really close enough at the moment to make an overtaking attempt. He will, of course, in this first corner try to get as close as possible for the 2nd corner and try to make an overtaking attempt down the corner number 3. We also have a scrap for 3rd position, and all the way down for every individual position we have some sort of fighting going on. So really action-packed race, and Palou makes a mistake in the corner number 3, touches the car in front of him, losing the back of his car and spinning out, costing him 1 place and a lot of speed down the straight. Behind him, of course, coming down with more speed, and will try to make an overtaking attempt. And we are again with fighting for the lead. Mateusz Bankowski still defending himself from Paul August Lane, but Lane is all over the Polish driver. They go side by side down the corner 5, 6 and 7. Very hard to overtake through this artificial chicane or this combination of the corners, but Bankowski still has to be really precise on each braking point, on each corner, to carry as much speed as possible on the next, so not trying to not get overtaken by Paul August Lade. Clearly the fastest driver around the circuit this weekend, fastest in free practice, in qualification session, winning race number 1. But Lane is also under pressure from the 3rd position driver and gets overtaken down the corner number, I think we are down in number 14, approaching corner number 15. That was an interesting situation. They both spins out from 2nd position, allowing Bankowski to make a run for it, and Klemenyenko now coming into the 2nd position, and we have a 4-way fight down the last corner. They collided but somehow avoided another spinning. We have really action-packed field. Klemenyenko in 2nd position, Adamczyk in 3rd, Ortega 4th, Faitoza 5th, and August Lane, who was a few moments ago challenging for the lead, now being pushed to 6th position and now has to get himself through that really tight packed field to make an attempt. Again, now he's making an attempt for 5th position, but really tricky situation. Ortega going wide and August Lane making position, using the inside very wisely, trying to avoid any tricky situation. He made a good run down that third corner, down the longest straight, and to the fourth corner they come. We've seen none of the drivers in position to make a serious effort in an attempt for overtaking, and we are again with Slakovic, who is also one of the drivers trying to get himself as high as possible through the field, in 9th position, being dead last a few laps ago when he made a mistake, spun himself, and again makes a mistake in corner number 5, running wide but not too wide, carrying some good speed down the corner 6 and 7, where Stanislav Fajtoza in currently 4th position, but we have a really tight fight in the front of the field. Bankowski leading 1.5 seconds in front of Jenko. Then we have a fight, Jenko, Adamczyk, Fajtoza and August Lane. They are all in the fight for 4th or even higher positions at the moment. We are in the back of the field for 8th position. We go. Palu makes a slight mistake, allowing Slakovic on his outside. Ooh, that should be tricky situation. Slakovic forces himself on the outside line, hitting Sander Palu, and makes an overtake that wasn't, in my opinion, not the cleanest of overtakes. He made a contact, he was late on the brake, forced himself in front of the Palu, but Palu left him a door wide open. We are with Klemenenko, 1.1 seconds behind Bankowski, but has to defend himself from not 1, not 2, but 3 cars in the moment, making a good run down the circuit. Bankowski still leading, Jenko 2nd, Adamczyk 3rd, Fajtoza 4th, and August Lane in 5th position. And you can see the back of Adamczyk, we see a scrap for 4th position. August Lane making an attempt, overtakes Fajtoza in fight for 4th position, but this fight is far from over. Fajtoza being overtaken by Otre by the moment, but Fajtoza is not giving up yet. Of course, all of these drivers have the similar pace at the current moment. We really see an action-packed race full of overtakings. None of the drivers in this moment made a, let's say, get away and made himself a comfortable advantage. With Stanislav Fajtoza fighting it out for 5th position, and Mateusz Bankowski in the lead, but it is the very slight lead. He has to defend himself from Klemenenko. He is in the moment not in a position to make a serious overtake attempt, but one late braking, and the driver behind can easily squeeze himself through, and we see really the train of cars in the back of our leader. So really action-packed race. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars in the moment, all of them fighting it out for the lead. We are with Paul August Lane, fastest in the race number 1, making his overtake attempt for 3rd position. Ooh, this one should be tight, running wide over the curbs on the inside. Not enough speed through the corner to keep himself in front. This time around, we will see what strategy we'll use, trying to undercut his opponent down the corner, but not enough. And we have 4 cars approaching the turn number 4, really close to each other. Then we have a whole train of cars in the back. Mateusz Bankowski leading slightly in front of Jenko, but then we have a scrap for 2nd position. 3 cars in the moment challenging for 2nd position. Piotr Adamczyk having to defend himself from August Lane, but at the same time both of them are attacking Jenko from behind in their attempt for 2nd position. Piotr Adamczyk on the inside, August Lane forcing himself on the outside line down the corner 5, 6, and then approaching corner number 7, and we have a turn 8 and 9. Paul August Lane keeping Klemenenko under pressure. Ooh, that will be a serious attempt in corner 10 and 11. He has the inside line, a slight oversteer, nothing too much, really patient on the apex on the corner number 11, and one of the hardest overtakes as we see all day long. Really brave maneuver down the corner 10 and 11, and very deservedly gaining himself second position. Luka Oslakovic at the moment progressed himself through the 8th position, attempting for position number 7. Edward Batala in front of him. We see all of these cars in our picture at the moment are in the fight for first position. Bankowski at the moment being overtook by August Lane, so the winner of race number 1 again in the lead, but at the moment Luka Oslakovic in 8th position, challenging Stanislav Vajtosa for 7th position. Down the straight they go, wheel to wheel, approaching corner number 1. Ooh, and 3 cars spins out in the first corner. Mistake on the braking, and the situation just called for it. Too much cars going down the same corner, and one of them was destined to make a mistake. Luka Oslakovic spins out and then again spins out in an attempt to rejoin the track. At the moment we are in the front of the race, 7 minutes remaining, and August Lane made an attempt down the final straight for the leading position. Mateusz Bankowski in 2nd position, but at the moment he's under pressure from Klemenienko, who is at the moment in 3rd position. Yeah, this one will be tricky down the corner 5, 6 and 7, but today we saw a whole lot of situations. In every corner on the circuit we saw an overtake, so this Bud International Circuit is proving really interesting raceway in Formula 1. In its days when it held the races was one of the most boring circuits of the calendar. Not many overtakes happened, but okay, that was also the years 2011, 12 and 13 dominated by the Red Bull. As said before, Sebastian Vettel, the only driver in history to win Indian GP. It was 3 times in a row. Not really the fan favorite circuit was Bud International, removed from the circuit 3 years after hosting his first race also, but in the GTT3 Asia Flat6 Cup it's something completely different. This raceway proved very tricky for all the drivers and action-packed, and also will be remembered by fans from many overtakes throughout the race number 1 and also race number 2. Action-packed. First 13 minutes of a race was really a nail-biter. After 13 minutes the situation calmed down a little bit, so 5 minutes and 3/4 left to go. Still a lot to fight for. Positions far from decided yet, as we saw on the previous race. Certain positions were decided in the last lap. Piotr Adamczyk trying to keep himself in the slipstream of Klemenienko down the longest straight towards the turn 4. We saw the DRS sign. Of course, this DRS sign not important for the GT racing. That is from Formula 1, where the cars deployed DRS, so called the drag reduction system. Rear wing opened himself and allowed the driver in the back an easier attempt to overtake the car in front. The system introduced in 2009 in Formula 1, if I'm correct. Of course, in car racing like GT and World Touring Car Championship, the drag reduction system is not a thing. Edward Batala being overtook by Luka Oslakovic for 8th position. Oslakovic made quite a good charge through the field, but unfortunately a few laps earlier tangled himself in 3-way spin in the first corner. It was a really action-packed situation. 7 drivers fighting it out for first place, but eventually one of the drivers made an error and knocked 3 drivers out of the race. We are in fight for 2nd position. Bankowski, Jenko and Adamczyk fighting it out. Jenko in the middle of this sandwich, number 23 blue-colored Porsche, having to attack the car in front, but at the same time defending from the car behind him. That would be an interesting situation, keeping himself close. Yeah, not enough space. Bankowski makes a really late braking, not allowing cars behind him to be to make a serious attempt. 3 going clean through the corner 4, but now approaching turn number 5. So the drivers who are in slipstream are in the best of position, and meanwhile August Lané made himself quite a comfortable advantage 3 minutes before the end of the race, and we have an overtaking attempt. Klebanenko going on the inside of Bankowski. Not enough space, not late enough on the brakes, not possible to squeeze himself through, but Adamczyk making the best out of these situations, gets side by side with Jenko down the turn 5, 6 and 7, but Jenko aggressively defending. Ooh, we have a situation in the back. It came to the contact, but Jenko keeps the car on the racing circuit, and also Adamczyk, and they are still side by side through the corner 8 and 9, approaching the longest corner of the circuit 10 and 11. Klemenenko keeps the car after the contact straight on the circuit, loses a little bit of ground compared to Adamczyk, but of course we have 2 minutes and 25 seconds of racing left, enough time to make another overtaking attempt. Now he needs to calm down, regain his composure. He had a really nice pace throughout the race, so no problem keeping himself behind Piotr Adamczyk. Down the turn 16 they come, down the final start, finishing straight in this moment. Jenko not close enough for a serious overtaking attempt down the corner 1. No, just keeping himself close to Adamczyk, light on the braking. We saw some smoke coming from the tires, meaning he really pushes hard to defend this 3rd position. Bankowski in the meantime gaining some small advantage due to mistakes made by cars at the back of him. Jenko at the moment not enough. This long straight, of course, very important to be as close as possible to the car in front of you, so using his slipstream, and then on the braking try to squeeze yourself through. Jenko again making an attempt, going light on the brakes, keeping the inside line, but Adamczyk going through the outside, a bit longer, let's say a run through the corner, but carrying much more speed than a car on the inside, so keeping the 3rd position untagged at the moment. But Jenko gained ground compared to opponent in front of him, and he has 50 seconds of racing left to make one attempt. Should be a daring one, and of course, as said before, this point scoring system in this league of course encourages drivers to push for every single position. The winner gets 15 points, and then all the way down to 15th position, the driver for each position lost loses 1 point, for each position gained of course gains 1 point. So very rewarding system. If you make for every position of course is 1 point, so very important to make as much ground as possible. And Arkadiusz Otreba making his way to 5th position past Sander Palou, but Palou of course not giving up yet. We have a fight for 2nd position again on our screen. At the moment racing time is over, so the drivers have to finish one last lap, so 16 corners left to make some ground. Klemenenko not close enough down the corner number 1 compared to Piotr Adamczyk. Bankowski at the moment a little bit in front, so a bit on the safer side at the moment. Palou already he lost quite some time compared to Otreba, who overtook him a few corners ago. Bankowski in 2nd position, Adamczyk 3rd, and Jenko 4th. All 3 cars coming down towards turn 4. Jenko not close enough for serious overtaking attempt. A few corners left in this race. We saw overtaking possibilities. Adamczyk makes a mistake out of the corner 4, going wide through the curb, loses the back end of his car, sliding a little bit, and then that allowing Jenko very close enough for overtaking attempt. Now Jenko has to keep it calm through these combinations of corner 8, 9 down the way to the 10 and 11, and then we have 13th and 14th corner, very hard to overtake, and then two serious possibilities, corner number 15 and of course corner 16, specially designed to make overtaking attempt and then outdrag yourself through outdrag himself through 6th position down the finaling straight. Now we're going down to the corners 13 and 14, and now we're approaching 15 and then 16, and that meaning the last overtaking chance. Paul August Lane at the meantime going to the last corner and down the finishing straight again, finishing first, so fastest in qualification session, winning race number 1 and winning race number 2. Klebeninko meanwhile made an attempt, but it was not enough to go past Piotr Adamczyk, who kept himself in 3rd position. Bankowski meanwhile finished in 2nd position. Luka Oslakovic finishing 7th. The driver who was at the end of the first lap all the way down to the dead last position made it all the way to the 7th position. Had a spin in the process, but really had charged through the field. We were Shirok and Faitoza fighting it out through the last corner. Shirok coming down the straight in 9th position. Faitoza finishing our top 10. Kostas Melinstas in 11th position at the end of this race. It means as he finished 11th, 50 seconds behind our race winner. Ram Aditan, the home driver, finishing in 12th position, more than a minute and a half behind the race leader. So in this race he was way off the pace of our fastest drivers, but he will finish in at the moment 12th position since one of the drivers retired in this race. He has a few corners left to finish the race, and after that the race will be officially over, and you clearly see from your screen the race is now officially over. So our race broadcast will be in this moment over, and we will move ourselves to the studio. So the first racing, let's say, weekend, although it's not weekend, we are on Thursday evening, came to an end. We were in Bud International Circuit, race number 1. We have 5 races left. I mean, actually there are 10 races, but 5 racing. Usually it's called weekends, but it's racing days. So quite a lot of chance for all the drivers to make their way. But we really saw an action-packed race number 1 and even more action-packed race number 2. First 13 minutes of race number 2, one of the best pieces of racing we saw recently in sim racing. 7 drivers fighting it out for the first place, but of course that was destined not to end very well. 7 drivers approaching tight first corner, that ended in disaster. 3 drivers spun out, and then after that the race calmed down a little bit. And we found out we have a clear favorite for this Flat6 Asia Cup, Paul August Lane, the clear favorite, fastest in free practice, qualification, and winning the 2 races. So the name to watch in the next race is approaching in 14 days. We will move to China, to Guangdong International Circuit. Then we head to South Korea, Malaysia, Japan, and Bahrain to end our Flat 6 Asia Cup series. Chile Sim Racing, of course. So that will be all from our sides. From our side, I hope you enjoyed the racing. We had really 2 action-packed races, so be with us for more action in 14 days in a completely different environment in China, circuit of a completely different nature, but also it's a shorter circuit for which we will know in 14 days, but also short circuits usually provide us with even more action, and today we were really delighted by all the drivers who provided us for with the best piece of racing we saw in a long time. So I hope you enjoy our broadcast and have a pleasant evening, and see and hear from you in 14 days. Have a nice one.